Good evening, and welcome to everyone that is here. And maybe I'm being too close and too loud with this, but every year at our banquet, we like to share with you some of our success stories, and we have a lot of those that we could bring up here and share. But we've chosen one tonight that I think that when you hear this story and you see the end result, the beginning of the story is not a very lovely or happy story, but by the time we get to the end of it, you're going to see and understand what your support of Four Rivers means to the people that we service and to the impact that it makes on lives. The young lady that I'm going to talk about tonight and that I'm going to introduce you to here in just a few minutes, I first met this young lady when she was 4 years old, back in my days when I worked at the Crisis Center. And when women and children had to come into the Crisis Center, their lives are never great. But when I saw this little girl with big brown eyes and a ponytail that was flowing as she would run down the halls at the Crisis Center, I could never and ever have imagined what her life was going to turn out to be like. And so the story tonight of this young woman is at 4 years old, when I first met her, she was already in the middle of a family with lots of drug and alcohol abuse and dysfunction. And by the time that she was 5 years old, one of her many mother's boyfriends took her to a park here in Sherman. And every little child that is 5 years old loves to go to the park. And it was at this park at a tender age of 5 years old when this little girl was taken down in a creek bed, and she lost her innocence at the hand of this monster that was to happen to her many times over in the next coming years. She experienced death for the first time in her life when she was 8 years old. Her brother was killed, her teenage brother was killed in a car accident that involved drugs and alcohol. And by the time this young lady was 14 years old, she was pregnant. By the time that she was 16 years old, she was pregnant again. By the time she was 17 years old, she was pregnant yet for the third time. Now, during this period of time, from these years of 16, 17, 18 years old, her life was it was just so dark and so bad. She tried 3 times to commit suicide, seriously trying to take her life because she didn't feel like that her life was worth living. But when you hear the end of the story tonight, the good news is that you will know that God had a different plan and a different purpose for this young woman's life, because all those overdoses could not take her away from what God had in store for her. When she was 18 years old, her biological father died. Now, he was a very abusive person, had not been real nurturing to her, but she lost him when she was 18 years old. At the same time, when she was 18 years old, a few months later, her mother had married a man that paid attention to her and loved her, and this young lady felt bonded with him, and he cared about her. And a few months at 18, after her biological father died, this stepfather that she cared about and that she really felt like was the only person in the world that cared about her, he also died. Now, by the time she was 19 years old, her mother died. And so at 19 years old, here she was with just about everybody in her family gone. She had felt alone almost all of her life. She was very, very heavy into drugs and alcohol, and always searching and looking for that something that could fill up the void in her life, and it never happened. She never had it. When she was 18 years old, she was put on probation, a 6-year probation period. She did not successfully complete that. She made a lot of bad choices, a lot of wrong decisions. She had no nurturing, no guidance in her life, and she was just out basically running the streets. And by 10 o'clock every morning of her world, she was drunk. Every day. It was an everyday occurrence. Used drugs. When she turned 19, she was given a prison sentence of 1 year, and she went to prison. And when she came back out of prison, she got right back in, just picked it right back up where she left off. And when she was 21 years old, I looked up one day and there was this beautiful girl coming through the front door. She was battered, she was beaten, she had black eyes. She had almost died at the hands of a boyfriend. He literally almost killed her. I took one look at this young lady who came back through the door at 21 years old, and I knew immediately that she was that little girl so many years ago at 4 years old, and there she was before us. So we got her at Four Rivers when she was 21 years old. Now, she is very well known in the judicial system here in Grayson County. If we've got any judges or probation officers here tonight, you're going to know who she is. We were trying to help her. We supported her. We did everything that we could for her. She was not ready. She could not accept the fact that people loved her. She could not accept the fact that she was worthy of anything good in her life. She continued to be running and gunning and drugging and drinking and doing all of those bad things. And we told her, one of the things that we told her is that it doesn't matter how hard you run, how far you go, how many needles you stick in your arms, how many bottles of alcohol you drink, we are not going to give up on you. We are going to put you in the hands of our Heavenly Father, and we're going to trust and believe that you're going to come okay. So you can't run away from us, and you can't run away from God. But it was at 22 years old when one of the judges here in Grayson County probably saved her life when he sentenced her to 5 years in prison because she had failed probation. She went at 22 years old and she served 2 years of that 5-year prison sentence. She got out of prison and she came back to Four Rivers, and she is 26 years old. Today she is coming up on 4 years clean and sober, no drugs, no alcohol. She is in her 2nd year of Grayson College. She works at Four Rivers, where she gives hope and encouragement every day to others, that she knows what it feels like. She's been there and done that. And she is one of the remarkable stories that we see that comes through Four Rivers. And I want to present to you tonight this lovely young lady and her children. I think that you will see that any support that you have put into this in the past, that you will see tonight through this young lady and her family. She's learning how to be a mother. She was never taught how to be nurtured and loved and cared for, so she's learning to do that. So tonight, without any further ado, I want to present to you tonight to this victorious, successful story and this lovely family. Her son, Caleb, is 12 years old. Come on up, Caleb. Her daughter, Chelsea, is 9 years old. And her son, Chance, is 8 years old. And last but not least, which Bear is one of our volunteers at Four Rivers, and he is the greatest grandpa to little Hunter, who is 15 months old. Meet Hunter. And he loves his pawpaw, Arthur. That's Hunter. All right, now I want to give you Let me say tonight that Chance and Hunter's grandmother is here with us tonight, Joe Shaw. She worked for many years in the police department as a dispatcher, and she has taken up the slack with Chance when Maggie was not able to and could not for so many different reasons. And we give Joe a big shout out for stepping up and being the grandmother that she has been. Stand up, Joe. Stand up and wave at everybody. There you go. God bless you, Joe. All right, I want you to meet Maggie. This is Maggie, 26 years old. And this is the young lady that has overcome all of these obstacles that I have told you about and so many more. And she's going to say just a few words tonight, but I want all of you to join with me in prayer because Maggie's picker is broken, and she's picked a lot of not very good relationships. So the last thing that I have to pray for Maggie is for a godly man in her life that will love her like the lady she's supposed to be, and will embrace her children. So y'all can join me in prayer with that. My precious, precious Maggie.
Okay, if y'all will excuse me, I'm a little bit nervous. So, I wrote something out, and I hope y'all bear with me reading it to y'all. She told y'all a lot of what I've been through, and it's ugly, and I wanted to steer away from that. And here I am, not even going on my paper. The decisions that I made in my addiction were things that I can't never change or take back. I've hurt everything that mattered to me because I chose to be selfish and find love in things that didn't matter. I'm sorry, I'm gonna cry. I was a very stubborn person, and I didn't feel worthy of anything good. I turned my back on everything, including Arthur and Jeannie. But they did never give up on me. I swear they prayed me to prison. I swear to God. I'm not kidding. But I thank God now for every experience that I've had, because there isn't a day at Four Rivers that somebody doesn't walk in the door and have almost the same story, or parts of it where I'm able to say, hey, there's hope. And I get to experience life with my kids, and it's a pretty amazing thing. I see my attitude in them every day, and that's a little scary, but I get to experience all that. Let me just read here the part. I bucked every suggestion, every conversation, and every helping hand because my way was better and more convenient for me. My way landed me into the safe confines of the criminal justice system. In that time, I realized that if I continued to live my life the way that I wanted to, that it would end this way every time, that I would end up in prison or in an abusive relationship or in some kind of crazy scenario, especially where I didn't have my children. It would just end bad. In that moment, I was ready to give up. I was thinking of every way that I could in prison to take my life because I didn't see another way. I didn't see a way to actually be successful. I was like, this is all I'm meant to be. Sometimes God just makes people that are crap, and I'm that. God gave me a moment of clarity whenever he said, I'm not letting you give up. I'm not giving you an option, and I'm gonna use you for something good. And I made that decision to go ahead and give life one more shot. I came out of prison, and very quickly, I got pregnant with Hunter. And my life has changed from that moment. I knew that there was this baby. I knew that there was this life that was so worth living, so worth being a mom. And I found a lot of my serenity in being around Arthur and Jeannie and a part of Four Rivers, and being able to share what I'm doing with my life with someone else who's dealing with the same things. All I've done is what I could do, and God has taken care of the rest. Four Rivers has been the greatest part of helping me, and today the woman that stands before you, transformed, has confidence. I have my children, and I have my sobriety. Life presents struggles to me every single day. And I feel like, oh my God, this is not gonna work anymore. But I push through, fight it, and I conquer it every time, even though I didn't believe that I would. I face it with a light in my heart now, and I think that's the difference. I don't see the darkness anymore. I don't see the abusive relationships and the drugs and alcohol, and I don't find my happiness in the bottom of a bottle. I want to end with saying thank to each and every one of you for coming tonight and for your continued support to Four Rivers. I'm a product of what we do, through and through. It works if you work it, and I'm doing that, but Four Rivers gives everybody the opportunity to make that possible. So that's all I have. Thank you so much.